Now that we've talked about the target condition for our activities, our connections, and our flows, we want to talk about how to improve those building blocks of all of our work. That brings us to Rule 4. Doctors Bowen and Spear write, any improvement must be made in accordance with a scientific principle, under the guidance of the teacher, at the lowest level possible of the organization. The simple version that you can memorize and internalize is improve through experimentation. A favorite question of mine that I love to ask is, what percentage of the solutions you put in place do you get to verify that you got the result you expected to get? What percentage of the improvements you put in place do you get to verify you got the result you expected to get? Now, you can be honest with yourself and come up with your best guess. You certainly probably don't measure that. But you probably best evaluate whether in general you're doing a good job. Problems go down, quality goes up, costs go down. Therefore, I'm doing a good job problem solving. However, the target condition for rule number 4, improve through experimentation, is that every problem that we solve, we can verify we got the result we expected. Why? Is because if I don't know which problems I solved well and which ones I didn't solve well, then I can't learn from that. There's no way to get better as a problem solver by knowing which problems I solved well and which ones I didn't. And so rule number 4 is ultimately about learning. Learning through experimentation. Becoming better at making improvements and solving problems on our activities, connections, and flows. Now, what does that really take? It really takes first understanding the current reality. We need to do that observation. We need to understand the current condition. We need to develop a hypothesis, which is a fancy word, but in the end, the only word we need is expect. If I make this change, I expect to get this result. And then we go and test that hypothesis. Fundamentally, in accordance with a scientific method, as Spear and Bowen write, means exactly that. Why is it so important to have this hypothesis? This what result you expect to get? It's because that's what drives the learning. For example, if I'm trying to improve an activity that I perform every week, and I believe I found an improvement that's going to save me time, I can go and measure what I have before, do it afterwards, and measure what I have afterwards, and see if it's better. And that verifies whether or not the idea is worthwhile. But it misses a big opportunity. By having the time to take that hypothesis, when I make this change, I expect to save 30 minutes in my activity. It sets up a different validation. I do the experiment, I test my hypothesis. If I got exactly 30 minutes, what that means is that I understand cause and effect very, very well. It gives me a feedback loop to how well I understood my process. If I expected 30 minutes and got 20 minutes, it means that I didn't quite understand how my process worked. And the really hard reaction is if I expected 30 minutes and instead got 45, I want to start by patting myself on the back for doing an excellent job. But unfortunately, what it really tells me is I don't truly understand the current state. My understanding of the current state predicted 30 minutes. Reality told me 45 minutes. There's something I don't understand. And if I don't fully understand why my experiment went the way that it did, I'm very unlikely to sustain that gain. So whatever time I have an opportunity to test my hypothesis, whether I got a result better than I expected or worse, it gives me an opportunity to go back and understand my current reality. Why did I get the result that I got? And that's what makes experimentation about learning. Every change we make is an opportunity to better understand my work. There's an alternative to this path of observing the current reality, developing a hypothesis. If I make this change, I expect this result. Testing our hypothesis and learning. That alternative path is we can simply assume we understand the current state. If we assume we understand the current state, we don't need to test anything because we can jump straight to a solution. And if we have a solution, well, we can move straight away to implement. Almost any change that we make is a choice between this path, a knower path, and this path, a learner path. It doesn't matter if it's a big strategic change in the direction of our company or changing how I respond to email or how I walk in from the parking lot. Big or small, every single change is an opportunity to be a knower or a learner. And it's not that people are knowers or learners, it's the opportunities that we choose, one path or the other. We can't live all the time up here. If we're driving down the road and our gas gauge says E, we go to the fueling station and put gas in the car. We operate down here, and that's fine. That's how we get through the day. But when this doesn't work, we need to make good choices about when to approach change as a learner. Every change you make, you can choose the knower path or the learner path. You can make the choice.